You've seen it 1,000 times. Your dog walks to their bed or to a spot on the couch, or to that particular corner of the carpet they've chosen for tonight. And before they lie down, they start the ritual. 1 circle, 2, maybe 3. Sometimes they scratch at the surface first. Sometimes they sniff it. Sometimes they go around and around longer than seems strictly necessary, and then finally, they turn once more, fold their legs and drop. And they're out within seconds. It's one of the most universal behaviors in the domestic dog. Every breed, every size, every age, they all do some version of it. And yet, most people never think to ask why. It's just a dog thing. They always do it. It's cute, maybe a little silly, and mostly just something you wait out. But behind that small ritual is an evolutionary story that goes back thousands of years. A set of biological functions that are still relevant today and, in rare cases, a signal about something worth paying attention to. The circle before lying down is not random. It never was. 1. It was survival before it was habit. To understand where this behavior comes from, you have to go back to before there were dog beds and heated floors and memory foam cushions. Before any of the domestic conveniences that make your dog's resting life comfortable. There was open ground, wild grass, leaves, uneven terrain, cold or heat depending on the season, and predators that could appear from any direction. For wild canines, wolves, wild dogs, the ancestors of your dog, choosing where and how to sleep was a genuine survival decision. The wrong position, in the wrong spot, facing the wrong direction, could mean the difference between waking up safely and not waking up at all. Circling before lying down served multiple functions in that environment. First, it trampled the ground, pressing down tall grass, flattening leaves, breaking up sticks and pebbles. All of this created a more comfortable and physically stable sleeping surface. A matted down circle of vegetation is easier to lie on than random wild ground. It also made the spot distinctly theirs, a visible sign that this space had been prepared and occupied. Second, circling allowed the animal to scan its entire surroundings before committing to rest. 1 full rotation meant they could see and smell and hear everything behind and around them. They confirmed, no immediate threat approaching. The territory is clear. I can lower my guard for a few hours. The circle was a safety check. Third, and more subtly, orientation mattered. Research on wild canines has found that they tend to align their bodies along a north-south axis when resting in open spaces, possibly in response to the Earth's magnetic field. Circling may help them find and maintain that alignment intuitively in the same way some humans adjust their pillow orientation before falling asleep. None of these pressures are present in your living room. Your dog is not being stalked. The dog bed is not going to collapse. There are no predators outside the window, probably. But the ritual is coded in deeply enough that it doesn't require a conscious reason to activate. It runs on instinct. The brain says circle, and the body circles. 2. They're making a nest, and the surface matters more than you think. One piece of research on this behavior stands out for being both elegant and immediately practical. When scientists studied how often dogs circled before lying down on different types of surfaces, they found something clear. Dogs circle significantly more on uneven, textured surfaces, like carpet, shag rugs, or grass, than on smooth, flat surfaces like tile or hardwood. The conclusion was that the circling behavior is at least partially about making the surface suit the body. It's a preparation behavior. They're arranging the ground before they commit to it. In practice, this means that a dog circling on their bed is doing the same thing their ancestors did on a patch of wild grass: flattening, shaping, arranging. The movement of their paws and their body weight are pressing the material into a form that fits them better. Some dogs take this further. They scratch aggressively, dig with their front paws, or bunch up the fabric of the bed before turning. This is the full nesting sequence. They're trying to create a pocket, a contour, a shape that their body will settle into rather than just lying on top of. If your dog is particularly aggressive about rearranging their bed, they may be a dog who is especially sensitive to sleeping surface comfort. Investing in a thicker, more moldable bed often reduces the intensity of the behavior, not because they're cured of the instinct, but because the bed does the preparation work that circling is designed to accomplish. The behavior solves a problem. When the problem is solved by other means, the behavior settles down. Subscribe if this is making familiar behaviors suddenly fascinating, because there's still more going on in this small ritual than most people ever discover. 3. Temperature regulation and the physics of sleeping. Here's the layer that gets overlooked. Circling is not just about the surface. It's also about the relationship between the dog's body and the environment they're about to spend the next several hours in. Wild canines, and to some degree domestic dogs, use their posture during rest as a tool for managing body temperature. Curled tightly into a ball, nose tucked near the tail, limbs gathered in. This is the cold weather sleep position, where the dog minimizes the body surface area exposed to the air, conserving heat. Stretched out flat, legs extended, belly possibly against a cool surface. This is the warm weather position, maximizing heat dissipation. Circling helps a dog find both the right orientation and the right starting position for the temperature they're managing. It's one rotation checking airflow, another checking surface temperature, another finding the exact angle that allows them to curl into the position they need. This is particularly relevant on warm days when dogs are trying to find the coolest available point in a room, or during winter nights when they're trying to find the warmest patch. The scratching behavior that often precedes the final circle serves a related function. In warmer conditions, digging or scratching at the surface can expose cooler material underneath, working for a dog the same way turning a pillow to the cool side works for a human. In cooler conditions, gathering material around the body creates mild insulation. So when your dog scratches at their bed before circling down into it, they're doing something with purpose. They may not be conscious of the exact goal, but the behavior is not arbitrary. 4. The psychological function, a ritual that signals the brain. There's a behavioral dimension to this that doesn't get discussed much, and it may be one of the most interesting layers. Many animals, and humans, use repetitive, predictable behavioral sequences as psychological transition tools. The same sequence of actions, performed in the same order, is processed by the brain as a signal. We are now doing this thing. We are now transitioning into this state. This is sometimes called a ritual, even in a secular behavioral sense. It's a pattern the nervous system recognizes as a transition marker. For dogs, the circling routine may function this way. The body begins the sequence. Approach the spot, sniff, circle, sometimes scratch, circle again, and the nervous system interprets this pattern as, we are going to sleep now. Rest is coming. This is the recognized pathway to rest. And by the time the final circle completes and the dog drops down, their nervous system is already partway there. The ritual has done some of the work of winding down. This is consistent with what we know about how rituals function in general. The act of doing the same thing in the same order, repeatedly, has a calming effect precisely because it is predictable. The body knows what comes next. There's no assessment required, just follow the pattern and rest arrives. For dogs who have disrupted sleep, those who are anxious, in new environments, in pain, or simply in different circumstances than usual, the circling ritual may be one of the things that anchors the transition. It's familiar when everything else is different. It signals the brain to begin the process of settling even in an unfamiliar place. 5. When circling is not just a ritual, and when to pay attention. For the vast majority of dogs, circling before lying down is neutral, normal, and lifelong. It doesn't need to be corrected. It doesn't indicate a problem. It's simply the expression of an ancient behavioral program that modern dogs carry in their wiring. But there are situations where changes in the circling behavior, not the behavior itself but changes to it, can carry meaningful information. A dog who suddenly starts circling much more than they used to, or who circles repeatedly without being able to settle, or who seems distressed during the process. This is worth noticing. The most common medical explanation for this change in older dogs is pain. Arthritis, hip dysplasia, back problems, or other sources of musculoskeletal discomfort can make it very difficult to find a position that doesn't hurt. The circling continues because no position has been found yet. The dog keeps trying. They can't commit to any orientation because lying down in any of them is going to be uncomfortable. If you notice this in a dog over the age of 7 or 8, or in any dog after an injury or a sudden behaviour change, it's worth a veterinary conversation. Something as simple as pain management, anti-inflammatories, joint support supplements, a better orthopaedic bed can restore the ability to settle comfortably. The circling was the signal. Neurological conditions in older dogs, including canine cognitive dysfunction, a condition with parallels to dementia, can also produce circling that seems compulsive or confused. Dogs with this condition may circle in contexts that don't involve lying down, may seem disoriented while doing it, or may circle for much longer without result. If you see this pattern, especially alongside other changes like confusion, disrupted sleep schedules, or unusual vocalization, bring it to your vet. But for the typical healthy dog of any age, circling is just the ritual that comes before rest. A small enactment every day of something their species has been doing since long before they lived in houses. Something their nervous system still considers necessary, even though the threats that made it necessary are gone. The bigger picture. There's something almost philosophical about this behaviour when you sit with it long enough. Your dog has everything they need. A safe house, food, a comfortable bed, you nearby. There is no tall grass to flatten, no predators circling outside, no need to check the wind direction or face north. And yet they circle, because the body remembers, because instinct doesn't know that the world changed, because the brain runs the same program it has always run, and it still works, even in a living room in the 21st century. There is a version of this that's easy to find ridiculous. But there's another version, the one that's worth sitting with, where it's almost moving. Your dog, on their bed, circles one more time before lying down. And in that gesture is every ancestor they came from, every wild night they never lived through, every open space they never slept in. And then they drop. And they're out within seconds. The ritual is complete, the body is satisfied, and for a few hours, the ancient animal and the beloved companion become exactly the same thing. Subscribe if you want to keep understanding the science and the stories behind your dog's everyday behaviours. The ones we take for granted are almost always the most interesting.